Welcome to the Firm Report, the show where we pull back the curtain on what it really takes to build and grow a successful law practice. Each week, we'll be talking with attorneys, marketing pros, and operational specialists from law firms around the country. We'll dig into real stories, smart strategies, and the practical tips that can help you grow your firm and serve your clients better. Let's get into it.
The assistance that could be given by Exalt definitely helps, right? To give you your time. However, the personal touch, really to get in the skin of those clients, of the people in your posse, so to speak, your team, your tribe, whatever you want to call it, is really to find a real specific networking group that brings to life what the type of clients you need. Yes. So trade shows, usually they're geared to that, but it also could be just a plethora of people. One of the groups that I belong to is Florida Lawyers Network. And Florida Lawyers Network are a few people like myself, very specific, but 45 to 50%, even more, probably 60% are lawyers. Well, that's a pretty good ratio to get in front of those people as often as possible. For sure. It's very enjoyable.
You can augment the number of touch points to actually influence them, right? So like rather than just only seeing them that one or two, or say you see them once a month, so 12 times a year. But we went from an economy where it took 7 to 8 impressions to actually make an impression. Now you're talking 28 to 30 impressions to actually make an impression. How do you augment that frequency, right?
The bottom line is, what's the end result? What are you, first of all, trying to achieve? And then let's put the GPS into place. Give me the directions, I'll give you the path, and let's get there. So that's really how it works. And sometimes it takes a little time to get everybody on board. Sometimes it takes big time because not everyone's on board. And it's a big shakeup, and that's scary because that's change.
Hi, Zach Hoffman here with Bianca Moreiras today with us, and she is a legal consultant. And you want to add to that a little bit more?
I also do lots of coaching, public speaking, and hopefully I'll be putting out my book next year on networking.
Very awesome. So I know we have a mutual client. Definitely, we've had a few cups of coffee, and basically kind of schooled me a little bit based on your experience. So can you share a little bit about your experience and just some of your track record, what you've done in the legal space?
Absolutely. Well, first, let me thank you, Zach, for inviting me on your podcast. Super excited. I love the title. Very awesome in the whole realm of things. So 40 years. Oh my gosh. I know I look fabulous. 40 years in the legal space. I have been consulting and coaching attorneys to greater levels of success. So what do I mean by that? Marketing, networking, enhancing the client customer service, and also making sure the right people are in the right seats in their office space, among many other things.
Yeah, I know when we met, you had talked a lot about just even pairing up of associates, or when people have partnerships, or just how it evolves the practice, or how those situations start to work.
Okay, well, when there's systems, processes, and procedures in place, anything can happen. And then it's about that likability. An introduction. How are you? What's going on? Finding out what your needs are, what your pain points are, and then trying to marry different attorneys to one another, whether it to be a merger, an acquisition, just a lateral move for an attorney, or my favorite thing to talk about, which is succession planning. Nobody's talking about the future. They're all living in the present. And that is a real skill, a real art. There's not many people out there doing that.
Well, I mean, everybody loves to look at their docket for today, right? I mean, it's all about the moment in a lot of situations.
Absolutely.
Just, culture as a whole. But definitely, you told me, about the evolution of the legal space. I mean, from, when you were at firms, even before, I guess like software really took into it, just like the whole evolution of just like the workspace as a whole. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Oh my gosh, you're taking me back to the caveman days when they were stenciling things on a cave wall. Back in the day, and in 1974, we're going to take you all the way back. You weren't even born. I know that, Zach. However, as a woman, I heard about computers. I love the idea that computers were going to be on everybody's desk. I love the idea that we can do things quicker, faster. In 1974, they talked about eliminating paper. Hello, we just started doing that in 2020 because of COVID, that firms were forced to that situation. Look at all the time it took. I remember typewriters, then memory typewriters, then mag cards, then we went to linear word processing, etc. And I remember the first fax machine, which my firm in 1984 was the first firm to have a fax machine. my senior partner said, who are we going to fax if nobody has a fax machine? And we put a fax machine in each of our most wonderful clients with the most revenue coming in. And then everyone cursed me because we had to do it quick. You got it fast, you had to do it fast. Wow, fast forward, now we're into email. Okay. And that really changed everything. So watching that change, cell phones, it just, everything has changed. And the law firms are the slowest ones to catch up. Don't
Mm-hmm.
be fooled. Their pocket strings are close to their vest. And that's
Mm-hmm.
really the reason. But once they see the difference that it makes, it really helps. Then it's the shiny thing. Then they're chasing it. And they are slow to go, though, I will tell you. And I like fast. I like it in there. I like it going. And that's kind of like the little bit of the story from caveman to today.
Well, I mean, it's interesting to think about that. Like fax machines, essentially, in order, every big innovation is crux with communication evolution, right? So you talk about fax machines, and that was like a whole new era. I mean, I was a little kid working at my dad's dental office in the '80s, faxing into insurance companies to help them with claims. So I totally get it. The beep, and you had to hit the tone, and as soon as you heard the click of the next page, you had to be feeding the next page. I was doing that when I was 5 years old, so I'm well familiar with it. But that's wild that y'all were putting fax machines in clients' offices to augment the communication speed.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah. And a fax machine at that time cost $2,300.
Wow.
Is that nutso? I
I mean,
mean,
in today's
your
dollars,
dad made that investment, for himself.
that'd be the price of a car. And today, I mean, that with inflation, everything, probably looking at about $20,000 fax machine if
Right.
adjusted for that.
But no
So
one uses faxes anymore, right? They use
no.
online faxes, which cost $12 a month. There you go.
You got e-fax or scanning, or even when I started to adopt DocuSign, I was like, man, I should have done this. I should have done this like 5 years before. It's so much easier to get paperwork
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
things back. DocuSign is a whole new evolution of fax, and just the speed as to which everything's going on. I mean, we continue to see it today. It's even it's wild how much technology has evolved, and I guess there's not as many gates to entry as there once was. 'Cause-
Well, tell you a quick story. I was cleaning out my house and I had saved all these ink magazines going back to the year when they started, which was like 2003 or 5, 7, somewhere around there. And I'm reading one now and it's dated June 2010. And they
uh,
were talking about how wonderful it would be if we had virtual uh, workers in the United States. 2010. Hello. We think we started revolution with COVID.
yeah.
2010, that article, and it was so on point to today. I was in awe of the whole thing. I said, "Wow, there are innovators out there every day. We're just not listening to them."
I mean, it's you look at all the big things in movies from Space Odyssey with the monolith, which is the modern day iPad, and everything that you see, just essentially when it comes to innovation and how fast we've moved. I mean, from the iPod to the iPhone and what this thing can do. And how many industries the iPhone has destroyed. I mean, from camera industry to film processing, and that's just a couple, probably long distance phones. I mean, could probably knock out how many industries has this one tool, taken out. It's pretty amazing.
That'd be a great article, actually. It would be fascinating
I,
to just hear the
I
whole
think the
thing.
list just off the top of my head is at least 10 items real quick as to what it has like knocked out or ever evolved. The speed as to which everything continues to move, I don't see it slowing down. I mean, do you?
Do not, and that's what makes your industry so important because you're missing the boat if you're not out there. First of all, you never should put your foot on the brake with marketing. I
Yeah.
cannot stress that enough to everyone I speak to, everyone I meet. The first thing they're cutting out of budgets is marketing, and that's the last thing they should cut out of budgets. So, to your end, your little plug there for you because it's really the truth. People do not understand that as soon as I love this. Oh, I'm so busy. I'm going to stop networking for a few months. And I said, and you'll close the doors in a few months after that. What do you mean? You have to keep the funnel full. The
Yeah.
drip must be there constantly. And with what the things that you do with social media and websites and keeping that person present, the SEO, making sure their brand is noticed, that's the reminders. Those are the reminders that I'm here. Come get
Oh,
me. Let me work with you.
oh
So
yeah,
it's
for
very
sure.
important. Very
Yeah,
important.
the evolution of the consumption of media. I mean, it hit me hardest when, so, now I have the gift of family at home. I have a 5 and a 7-year-old and beautiful wife. And it's like, I used to go to networking events all the time before all that stuff happened. And I would be out in downtown Fort Lauderdale networking, seeing people at different events. And then it just all of a sudden stopped because I moved about an hour away. Fast forward to, I would say, a year ago, right? Started to invest more in our own social media, just creating more content, activating the stories, activating the feeds, just continuing to get more nurtured content out there. And I went to a networking event, like the handful of ones I was able to make it to. And it was amazing to hear how many people in the room that time were like, I've been seeing you everywhere. And somebody would be like, I saw you on Facebook. The other one would be like, I see you on Instagram, LinkedIn. I see you on X, so it's just like, all of a sudden, the evolution of how people even stay top of mind or like network or communicate, I would say there's still, a lot to be said for traditional media, but they call it traditional media for a reason, so it's probably a little bit aged. But it still has room in the marketplace because of the mass exposure. But as we dial into these funnels and where people tend to be spending most of their time, creating the content and the resources to get out there, I think going into 2024, 2020, going to 2025, you're going to see a lot more podcasts, a lot more content and creation where there's curation of activated content to chop up different pieces and segments and be able to communicate to essentially people within your funnel. I think that's part of the evolution of communication of what we're seeing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to keep top of mind in any way that you're going to do it. But the fastest, the speed of light, the lightning, the Jetsons, okay?
Yeah.
You have to be out there where the people are consumed by their iPhones, where they're consumed by their phones, where they're not even having conversation across the table anymore. It's more about, here, did you see this? And then you have a conversation. That's very sad in so many ways.
Yeah.
However, it's better to be seen than not seen. That's
Oh,
my
I
thing.
no, for sure. The attention span too is continued to like rapidly deplete, right? So it is better to be seen than not seen. But even if you think of like the age old like, and I'm not saying nothing against networking luncheons and like getting out there and going to network with your associates, but it's like the drive time. That if you have 8 hours, 9 hours to work in a day, you have to drive to a location in our town, South Florida. It's going to take you minimum 45 minutes is generous, right? Each direction, right?
Yes.
So that's an hour and a half already knocked out of your day. Then you go to an event, and unless you're the person that's like, I have to leave now, it's definitely lasting more than an hour. So now you're at 2.5 plus, so say 3 hours, and you've already knocked out like 40% of your working day just to stay top of mind with people within your network.
True, true. So then the assistance that could be given by Exalt definitely helps, right? To give you
Yeah,
your time. However, the personal touch, really to get in the skin of those clients, of the people in your posse, so to speak, your
yep,
team, your tribe, whatever you want to call it, is really to find a real specific networking group that brings to life what the type of clients you need. Yes. So trade
yep,
shows usually they're geared to that, but it also could be just a plethora of people. One of the groups that I belong to is Florida Lawyers Network, and Florida Lawyers Network are a few people like myself, very
hmm,
specific, but 45 to 50%, even more, probably 60% are lawyers. Well,
yep.
that's a pretty good ratio to get in front of those people as often as possible,
Oh, for
and it's very enjoyable.
No, for sure. So yeah, I guess one of the points I'm making though is like you can augment the number of touch points to actually influence them, right? So like rather than just only seeing them that one or two, or say you see them once a month, so 12 times a year. But we went from an economy where it took 7 to 8 impressions to actually make an impression. Now you're talking 28 to 30 impressions to actually make an impression. How do you augment that frequency, right? It's takes technology.
Technology. Exactly, exactly. And you're at the birth of technology. You're a young man, you came into it, 5 years old at a fax machine. Fast forward 12 years old, you were already doing
Dial
internet
up.
with, yeah, dial up, or even email.
I
So
was I was
the
dialing
AOL,
I was
AOL
dialing into
came
the
along.
library. It was before AOL. I was literally dialing in on like I think 1200 bandwidth to the local library on a CD backslash MS DOS system to go check like a stock quote, and that was like revolutionary because I
Yes.
was a kid starting to invest in stocks and just like to see like the 10 options of news headlines. Right? It was and then fast forward, like you said, go to AOL. I mean, these are the days. This is like, and we could all, I mean, a certain age, I guess, all make that sound, like where you're dialing in. That
Yep.
are fortunately, I don't think my kids will ever have to hear that noise.
Never.
Never, right? I mean, I am probably one of the few people left that has a landline in their house because I don't think it's necessarily great to always like hold a phone to your head. So I said to my wife, I was like, we should get, a landline, just like augment the amount of time you hold this phone to your head. Just like it's not, it's not the best thing. So we do have a landline still, but I think those are even the infrastructure for them to support it. They're starting to, they're not going to do it anymore at some point here. I think you're going to see the same thing with cable television soon at the rate that Netflix and YouTube TV are going. I mean, it's all going to be about that internet connection.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely at the end of this year was canceling my cable for sure. And the only reason why I have a landline is because it's only $10, and if I take it off, my bill goes up by 40. Hello, what's that about? So,
Well, it's interesting because even like the only reason I think still have a bill from Comcast is because of the internet. If they weren't providing internet to my house, there's no way. I don't use them for television. I use YouTube TV. I use way too many TV providers. I think for bandwidth for it's like Disney Plus, Netflix, Max, and then YouTube TV, and which I think I already named, and then just broader internet. But it's funny. I mean, because right now I'm living the life through my 5 and 7 year old, so I start to see a little bit of how they see things. And even when I asked him about Disney Plus versus Netflix, he goes to me, he goes, Netflix is way cooler. He goes, it's way brighter. And I never even picked up on that, right? So like when you actually turn on Disney Plus versus Netflix, like Netflix is way brighter. I realized it when I turned it on. And he's like, and the noises and it's louder. And it's like, he was spot on correct. I wonder if Disney's serving these little kids as to like why they're watching so much Netflix and versus like why they're not watching Disney Plus or where they're actually wanting to stream. It's wild. It's wild what we're seeing.
oh, for sure. Yeah, and the kids, they're just so intuitive with all of it. They're just, they were given birth like from a robot. They've just got it all. It's amazing, really.
Well, I mean, their first pictures are published on Facebook and Instagram probably from the birth, as an announcement,
Absolutely.
versus other ways people used to make announcements. I guess stick to the topic of driving results, and even in the markets that you see today and some of the practices that you work with, like what are some of the biggest disconnects, or what are you doing to really help different firms?
Well, I think one of the biggest problems that I see out there is firms grow without having a foundation.
Mm,
And without the, as I said before, processes, procedures, and the systems, and then the training of that, they go through a lot of turnover. And turnover is one of the highest costs for any company, for any firm. It doesn't matter. And
for
then
sure.
not really evaluating the right people for the right seat. They're putting those square pegs in those round holes and hoping they fit. Then through frustration, and I see this a lot, the owners of the company, they're so frustrated that they become unreachable, untouchable, uncommunicative. And then those people quit. And they want them to quit, but then they don't have a backup plan. It's the craziest thing. When you really lead from, the bottom up as a leader, you are
Mhm.
always going to have a better result. And for me, being a servant leader, a
Mhm.
go-giver, and not allowing people to trample you, but to understand the culture, bring them into the culture, and then allow them to be part of the culture through decision making. They're the ones doing the work. They're the ones that say, hey, this program doesn't work or this methodology doesn't work, and no one's listening. We're
Mhm.
looking at, as the owners, you're looking at cost, deliverability, time. Uh, those are the only things we're not looking at ease of use or understanding or how does it work with what you already have in place. So that's big. And what I try to do is go into firms ground level with a 40,000-foot view and put together an assessment of the firm. And how I would do that is I interview everybody in the firm. I
Mhm.
find out what they like, what they don't like, what works, what doesn't work. Are they listening, not listening? I find out so many things. It's wonderful. And then look at the back office, the front office, deliver them a plan of action with specific areas that we're going to attack. And sometimes they do like a Chinese menu. Well, I want this, and no, I don't want all that. And how much will that cost, right? It's always come
Mhm.
down to cost. But results is really what they should be thinking about,
Or
not
investments. I
cost.
mean, I was like when I get to the dotted lines there, and somebody's like, "Oh, it costs this much." It's like, have you ever thought that it's truly an investment? Like this, nothing's really costing you anything, or it's an expense. I mean, I think some of the necessary things you have to buy are expenses and costs, but the reality is when you're operating a business and you're trying to grow, it's every bit of knowledge you get or gain or working with somebody like yourself. It's a true investment. It's kind of I think it flips the paradigm a bit. So.
The bottom line is what's the end result? What are you first of all trying to achieve? And then
Mhm.
let's put the GPS into place. Give me the directions. I'll give you the path. and let's get there. So that's really how it works. And sometimes it takes little time and
Yeah.
you get everybody on board. Sometimes it takes big time
Yeah.
because not everyone's on board. And it's a big shakeup, and that's scary because that's change. And a lot of people don't like change.
Well, it's definitely, a lot of clients that we work with, like one of the things that I keep hearing out there is they want to like dethrone like the guard in the marketplace, or they want to like, you have a lot of up and comers that are, coming into their first big settlements and they want to invest into the future. I mean, where do you see like some of the breaking points for firms, or like, when you have an associate that goes out there, they hang their shingle, they have their own firm, they come into their first like 6-7 figure settlement. Now they're like, I need to now I'm ready. Now I'm like excited to take that next step. I encourage them. It's a marathon, it's not necessarily a sprint, but I mean, what are some like the big investment points that you see, firm owners need to take to really get to that next level?
Yeah, so that's interesting. That public awareness, right? So
Hmm.
the one place you can get that, we used to have the yellow pages, let your fingers do the walking. Now we have websites, right?
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need a website to get business, but you need a website to direct people to understand who you are, what you do. That's part of 101 advertisement. Well, so now that you have a website, why don't you let it work for you? And I hate to say it, got to say it out loud though. I'm not a big proponent of SEO, but I am someone that wants my attorneys to write, do
Hmm.
videos, do podcasts, do a blog, be seen. Yes, join organizations, not networking events, but join organizations and take a role in the seat at the board. So that
Hmm.
now you are becoming a philanthropist. You are the person to watch. Are you spending a lot of time and energy? It's really not that much. You're getting more
Hmm.
notoriety than you are work.
Yeah.
Success will come if you follow those steps for yourself. The other thing is to be able to have someone that you really trust, train properly, and bring them into your fold as a confidant. And
Hmm.
there's not a lot of people out there. It's really hit and run. New employees are hit and run. Let me come
Hmm.
in, let me learn the business, let me make money, and then let me go ask for more money and go somewhere else. Let me go to the competitor.
Hmm.
Versus keeping them happy as to what they want, not what you want to give them.
Hmm.
Not, and it's not, recognition is number one. Everybody
Yeah.
wants. Number two is a title, believe it or
Hmm.
not. And number three is money. So we're
Hmm.
missing the boat if we're not doing one and two and only throwing money at people. Kindness kills.
Hmm.
More kindness there is, and that doesn't mean monetarily or any of that. That is in a compliment. That's in
Hmm.
recognition,
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, they always say teamwork makes the dream work, so it definitely helps you get to that next level. Yeah, I wrote down a couple notes here. Like you were saying, like, definitely, it's funny because I got into a conversation with a client literally a week ago, and I said, like, we just need to service you a little bit more effectively for what we're actually doing. I was like, your website doesn't represent you. I was like, the picture on your website is not who you are on your Instagram, and it's not who you are when we're talking right now. It's like, we need to go ahead and update the website and put your correct picture on there. And he goes to me, it's like, well, the website hasn't closed me any business. And I was like, well, you said you close a lot of referral business and you close a lot of like business from people, networking. And he's like, yeah. I was like, well, the fact is I was like, people go, they check your website, they check your Facebook, they check your Instagram. Those are just like the cornerstones of your digital footprint. And if those all don't like check the box, or come up as like above a score on like a score of 0 to 10, if they don't score above a 5, they're probably not necessarily going to trust the referral source. The referral source might not trust to refer people to you. So there's a lot to be said, I think, in today's day and age. Like, you can spend a hefty investment just maintaining some of the things that you're saying, like fresh content, fresh creative, having new videos produced about who you are, new images, new, like, all that stuff in a year's working, a year's time. It takes a lot of effort and partners to curate and edit to get it to where you want to publish it, right? It's
Yeah, I don't think that most people really understand the power of Google even.
mhm.
And changing that content and keeping it fresh and keeping it consistent. Google's out there going, yo, this is somebody that, we think we can trust. They know what they're doing. They've got somebody in their pocket, or they know themselves what they're doing. I know every time I give a review, I get these banners and these things and whatever because I'm at that level already.
Yeah.
I make sure all my clients go out to my website and do a Google review. I mean, that is part of the finale of every job. And if people think that way, it's going to enrich the traffic. I've been in business 21 years, January,
Hmm.
and I've only received maybe 4 clients from my website. However, they were 4 really good clients, number
Yeah.
one. And number two, I'm always promoting my website. I'm always telling people, please visit my website. When they talk to me,
Yeah.
just check out my website and tell me if you want to have a conversation. That's it.
Yeah, I
Whatever.
mean, look, you've been successful for 20 plus years, so you can't discount the number of people that it's like a referral source, right? Like if you were to, I trust a human, not saying you shouldn't trust a human, but like trust a human to actually get you like the response from where that person found you in marketing. They like 90% of the time, like a consumer will never really know where they actually like heard you on the radio, billboard, like saw you on TV, saw you on the internet, saw you on social media. Like they never know what that last pocket. Oh, I saw you on the internet. I saw you on search. It's just like that. But the website, the credibility that it reflects is, what keeps like the engine going. It's definitely keeping it refreshed, keeping the content. It's like you said, just keeping it like photos, images, new information up there is definitely critical. So.
Absolutely. And even if it's the littlest of things, just a change in a title, it just refreshes everything and you're noticed again. And, people don't understand that. And I'm not sure if the communication from those in the business, like yourself, are not communicating it properly because that really, it's not. When I was building my website in 2015, so I was already in business 15 years, okay? No, 2015. Yeah, 2004. So 9 years. I was like, come on, build this already, whatever. And he said, Bianca, if you're waiting for your website to give you business, you're wrong. It's what the website's going to first do is allow you to have a show and tell show. That they're going to go, they're going to read it and everything. He goes, but if you think you're just waiting for that to give you business, you better get off your ass and do something. Right? That's
No,
exactly what he said to me.
it's a great way for people to find it. It's a great way for people to convert. And I tell clients all the time, like, and a website ages just based on consumers' knowledge. So like consumers are influenced by Facebook, Instagram, Amazon, the things they use on a daily basis, right? So when you look at how fast they're innovating, or even like my iPhone, like how fast like I'll get a new like operating system that they put on it, a website ages just as fast. Like if you have the ability and the resources to update a website every 6 months, a year and a half, like typically they need it. They need a little refresher, a kick in the butt. And I tell clients it's a 2.0. It's like you go from a 1.0 to a 2.0 and like refreshes just the way it feels on a device. Or even in today's market, a lot more people are putting out a lot more social content. So it's critical to make sure that that content's communicated on their website as well. It's a moving element for sure.
Yes. You really can't keep up with it. I mean, even when I graduated from college, they were like, okay, everything you learned is 4 years old. And I'm like, what? I just learned it. What are you talking about? And it's like continuing education with the computers and the speed of light that we're going through.
Oh yeah.
And people say to me, Bianca, how come you know so much about computers? Well, I went to school for it, but I've kept up with it. That's the difference. And that's kept me youthful in the computer world, right?
Yep.
Whereas I talk to people and they're like, oh my God, I can't do that. I said, well, why? I don't understand. But they don't keep up with it. They just do the same rote thing over and over. And law firms are notorious for that. That's why when new products come in, they have no idea and they're having their secretaries do it. So the secretaries learn it, and if the secretaries leave, they're messed up. So
well, it's interesting. Yeah, like one of the things you're seeing right now is AI, the AI evolution in the past, since ChatGPT really rolled out, like at the end of last year. When you talk about education's always so far behind in like adopting like technology. Or even when I was in school, I graduated in 2005 and they weren't teaching digital marketing or anything related, or like Google Ads wasn't like part of the curriculum. And none of what I did as a trade or like as soon as I left school was ever taught. I guess what I'm getting at is like AI is there's every school is rushing to like cover it because the students are utilizing it. The professors are foolish if they don't think they're utilizing it to write their papers or their essays. And they also have AI taking the standardized tests to see if they could pass. I mean, AI did pass the bar recently, so it's you have all these things happening where it's that curve of technology like we talked about earlier, where it's just like used to be like a lapse to like where you could actually adopt it, and now it's like you better not have it's not necessarily shiny object syndrome, but you better like take it seriously and consider adopting specific platforms or technology as it rolls out, or else you could find yourself behind in a year, in a short period of time.
Oh, sure. No doubt. I turn to AI every chance that I can just to get bigger ideas. I already have the idea. Let me get a bigger idea. And, my preference is Copilot. I really enjoy the Edge product Copilot because of the shepherdizing it does and stuff. So, I'm going out to those links and, strengthening whatever I'm going to talk about. So
you like really the citations for the research?
The citations. That's right.
Very nice.
For sure.
definitely, Bianca. I definitely appreciate you making the time to join us today. Can you tell us a little about where people can find you?
Oh gosh. Well, thank you for asking. That's very
Yep.
generous. So my website is just biancamoreiras.com. Super easy to remember. Don't forget the S on the end of my name. Most people do. And also my phone number is 305-986-0905. And my email address is just opposite, moreirasbianca@gmail.com.
And,
Love to
and
have a one-to-one with anyone. If you want to pick my brain, I allow that.
if
So
you didn't hear any of that, you just go search Google.
there you go.
And
I'm Google, and this face is the same face that's on Google.
very nice. Well, thanks again, Bianca, for making the time. I definitely appreciate it and sharing all your stories as to how you drive results for the law firms and, really keeping people up to date as to where they need to be. Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's it for today's episode of The Firm Report, brought to you by Exalts, a full-service digital marketing agency helping law firms reach new heights. If you enjoyed the conversation, make sure to like, subscribe, and share the show with someone who'd find it valuable. You can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.